And I'm talking about a subject that most of you don't give a shit about. So humor me, perk up, and we'll get through this, and maybe, just maybe, you'll learn something. Now, I have to deal with a little bit of skepticism because I'm talking to an audience of mostly locals about a subject that they think I know nothing about. Right? You've got some Farang standing in a Fab India kurta on the stage, right? Talking to you guys who obviously know everything about agriculture, about this subject. I've spent 2/3 of my career working in rural India, originally as an agribusiness executive. Now I run the only fund in the country that is entirely dedicated to ensuring that startups come out of this great ecosystem that we have that is solving problems for this 15% of the Indian economy and 50% of the Indian population that, frankly, most of you guys don't work on. So it's a fun job, and we're talking right now about the future. Farmer 2.0. When I say the future of Indian agriculture, I'm not going to talk about farmer suicides in Vidarbha. I'm not going to talk about Narega. We're going to project ourselves 10, 15, 20 years forward and say, what happened? What happened to the 15% of the economy, 50% of the population that had this burden of ensuring self-sufficiency in food? I think the answer is, first of all, you can expect a lot less of the population to be in agriculture. The last decade took 10% of farmers out. I would say the next decade is going to take about 15%. Maybe 20, and you're going to be left with a very different farmer. Already, if you tour rural India, the farmer in a dhoti, right, who is completely illiterate is, well, becoming a grandfather, and his grandson speaks a couple of languages, is computer literate, has a mobile phone, and is more connected to the world than you would imagine. Even the elder generation, I was once in a village outside of Saharanpur in UP, and I had a little farmer say to me in very chaste Hindi that if I could just get him an Israeli cow, his life would be set. So a little farmer outside of Saharanpur knew that Israel had the highest yielding cows in the world. So it just gives you an idea of how ideas percolate through the hinterland. So this is Farmer 2.0. What is one of the big things we're going to have to deal with in the next 10 to 15 years, next 10 to 20 years, is nobody wants to sell their land. Why? Assholes like DLF. What does that mean? Can you imagine if you were a farmer in the hinterlands of Gurgaon, which was a total backwater 20 years ago, and you sold 1 hectare for 1 lakh. Today, that is for the hour a day that you're sober, you want to kill yourself. And this is happening city after city after city. Right? Farmers have realized that selling to developers is lunacy, right? Let someone else to sell to the developer, I'll hold my land and become 10 times wealthier. So this creates a little bit of a problem, because when you hear that we have small farm holdings, they're actually going to get smaller because, again, no one in their right mind would sell. This, by the way, creates a great opportunity for a startup that is able to lease, that is able to property manage land the way we do with urban real estate, just in case anyone is paying attention. Mechanization is another thing that's happening as a result of people draining out of agriculture, right? Because it's 15%, I'd say, in the next decade that comes out, but the rural labor pool is evaporating. You can blame that on Narega, or you can say that, you know, the government of Bihar is doing its job and people don't want to flee anymore. But anyway, the cost of labor has exploded. So mechanization that was unfathomable, right, even half a decade ago, is happening today. Does anyone know what that is? Anyone? It's a harvester. What kind of harvester? It's a sugarcane harvester. Anyone want to guess how much it costs? More than $1 crore. Nobody thought these could be sold in India, but 150 of them were sold last year. That's how expensive labor has become, and it's going to get more so. And things that aren't mechanized today will be entirely mechanized tomorrow. There are going to be losers and winners. I would just throw out 2 on each side. Once again, this is a biology lesson, okay? Anyone know what's up there? Top left-hand corner. Paddy, rice, very good. Pat yourselves on the back. Bottom left-hand corner. Punjabis in the room, what's that? Wheat, okay? Good. These are losers. Why are they losers? They're losers because as a nation, our grain consumption is flat. Translation, you cannot eat 8 rotis a night for dinner. And if you make more money, you don't eat 10. Right? Anyone who's been to a small hotel in Vijayawada will say that your average Telugu cannot possibly consume more rice. Right? So as a nation, grain consumption flattening out. What are the winners? Upper right-hand corner. It's so easy, guys. What is it? Corn. Bottom left-hand corner. My Japanese friends might know this. Soybeans. Those are what they look like when we call them edamame. They're brown and crusty when we actually harvest them for agriculture. Why does corn and soy matter? Why are these the big crops of the Indian future? Because this is the reality check of your country. 30% of the country is veg, 70% is non-veg, and every Patel and Subramaniam in the room just had a heart attack. The reason you think your country's veg is that rich people are veg. Okay? But if we go east of Kanpur, if we go to Bihar, if we go to UP, right? If we go to Orissa and West Bengal, you'd be hard-pressed to find a vegetarian. And this is the part of the country that is developing. This is the part that is gaining wealth. And when they gain wealth, it's way more like China than it is like Baroda. And the amount of protein consumption that will come as their diets get out of the medieval ages is going to be incredible. And protein mostly means chicken, and chicken means corn and soy. That's how you feed it. So if you have land, familiar land, plant corn on it, plant soy on it, right? And part of fixing Indian agriculture right now is moving away from wheat and rice, especially wheat and rice monoculture that kills our soil and drains our water, and go to things that don't consume so much water and that fuel protein, like corn and soy. The white revolution, the second white revolution is coming. This is a Omnivore-backed company called Stellapps. Stellapps are 5 senior engineers from Wipro that all decided to move on farm a couple of years back. They have reverse engineered, they have re-engineered the entire system of dairy automation, linking it to telematics, linking it to mobile, linking it to the cloud, just the way you would expect nice engineers from Wipro to do. They are able to bring out systems that allow farmers to run larger and larger herds. I'm not talking about the 500 herd projects that you hear about. You read about them in the newspaper. They never actually become reality. It's all a real estate scam. I'm talking about 20, 30, 40 cows, the kind of dairy that will fuel this country over the course of the next few years, because still today, this is our biggest crop. The value of our milk is the #1 crop in India. It's bigger than rice, it's bigger than wheat. And it will continue to be because it is the core source of protein and will remain so for a very long time.
1 minute.
Okay, we're running out of water, I'm running out of time. And that means protected cultivation. Anyone want to guess where this is? This is a world-class greenhouse. Where? Israel. Who said Israel? No, this is an Israeli company in Chandigarh. Okay? You're going to start seeing this. You're going to start seeing controlling the weather, controlling the insects, not with massive amounts of pesticide and not by praying to God, but through protected cultivation, which will become for fruits and vegetables the norm. Sustainability. This guy did more for the organic movement with 1 television show than all the Vandana Shivas and Devendra Sharmas did in 2 decades of sucking money from Greenpeace. Okay? 1 show, and all of a sudden, everyone is talking about sustainability. You're going to see, if you are a young biochemist, a young biotechnologist, this is the place to play. And by the way, this country is hardwired for this. I like to try to tell Americans that in India, the largest retail footprint of clothing is run by a guy who uses organic cotton, right? I know the Gap was started by hippies, but they gave up sometime along the way. Fab India is an organic platform, a massive one that has now gone into food. This country is wired to pay attention to what it eats. It obsesses about what it eats. It chooses different foods on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Shravan, right? We can handle organic. And in fact, you're going to see it here at a much higher level than you would expect, and then at the rate at which it came into the West. Telematics are coming into agriculture. On the left is an automatic weather station of one of my startups, SkyMet, which is running the largest weather network in this country, bigger than the government's. On the right is a startup we've recently backed that is bringing visibility to aquaculture farms. The amount of data that's going to get thrown out of the agricultural system when you bring it online is going to boggle the mind. Again, similar to what you guys are doing, more and more opportunities addressing this space. And finally, the rise of the drones. Okay? On the left are little mini helicopters that can spray crops or look at fields and tell farmers when they have infestations. On the right is the Indian equivalent. This, on the left, is out of Canada. On the right, it's out of Surathkal, Mangalore. It's coming here faster than you imagine, right? So pay attention, maybe do some deals in the space, come see us about them. And finally, sorry, I know I'm over. Anyone want to guess what this is? What's on the left? Buffalo. What's on the right? This is $5 billion of exports last year. $5 billion. India's become a top 3 beef exporter because it cuts the throats of its buffaloes and sends them to the Middle East. Farmers are making a fortune from this that never could before, and they can do it with religious impunity, except in states like Karnataka when the BJP rules. And on the right, you've got shrimp. And shrimp is $2 billion of exports and coming up very, very rapidly. We like to think of agriculture as something for the poor. We like to think of it as something, we go say Jai Kisan and ignore the hell out of this space. But you have entrepreneurs in this space with a vision. And if we wake up, we have the potential through exports to build a real part of the economy here where wealth actually trickles down, that's not just based on land fraud and government contracts. Wealth that actually comes into the mass of the population. Brazil did it. We can do it. Thank you very much.